In this video you will learn about the best synthesizers for beginners. The best part, they are all free. As you can see, I checked a lot of different synthesizers looking for the best for beginners. Thing is, some of them are really good, but the interface is a bit complex or can be intimidating. So I chose synthesizers that are really easy to use and also have an intuitive interface. If you end up finding this video useful, please subscribe to the channel. The first one is Tal Noisemaker. This is an easy to use synthesizer with all the parameters you will need to make sounds. It has two oscillators with their own level knob. There's also a third oscillator which is 1 octave below. It has up to 6 voices so you can play chords. Besides that, each oscillator can be tuned differently. For the first one you can choose a saw, a pulse or noise, and for the second you can also choose a triangle and a sine wave. With oscillator 1 you can start experiment with pulse width. And on oscillator 2 you can apply some FM. Now, FM is a complex concept for beginners, so for now just use it to make weird sounds. Besides that, the envelope for the amp is straightforward. On the other hand, we also have a filter with its own resonance to shape the sound further. And with this knob we can activate the envelope modulation. Besides that, we have two LFOs, so you can further experiment with modulation. Both can be set to different shapes, even random values and noise. And they can affect the cutoff point of the filter, the FM, the rate of the other LFO, and the pitch of oscillator 1, 2 or both. Now it also have an advanced type of modulation, and to keep it simple, is a way to draw any kind of shape you want, and then apply that shape as a modulation source. We also have nice effects, so you can further manipulate the sound. It's simple, goes to the point, and has everything in one screen. The next one has a more modern kind of UI. This is Monolith by Bliss, a really simple and versatile synthesizer. The only downside is that it's only monophonic, so you cannot play more than one key at a time. Oscillator 1 has different shapes, and this time you can play them at the same time. We also have the control for the pulse width and the parameters for tuning. Oscillator 2 is even more simple. We can choose the shape with this knob and it's going to fade between each one. Again, we can add FM, but now we can also choose a shape, change the octave, and choose on which oscillator is going to be applied. The ADSR has a really nice visualizer on the background, and you can set the velocity to affect the amplitude. On the other hand, we have a filter that will show you what's happening to the sound. Not only that, this time we have a drive knob. This will add saturation on the filter stage. We also have one LFO with multiple shapes, and you can target up to 2 parameters at the same time, and as you can see we have a lot of options. Finally, we have an envelope for the filter. It's pretty similar to the one for the amplitude, and to make it work we have to add the amount. We can also use it as a modulation source for anything else. You see that we have further modulation options, and finally we have an arpeggiator. Doesn't have effects, but you can use your own, just add them on your DaveO. Still, you may not like that it's limited, and it's not so straightforward as the next one. Now, for some people this next synth is not considered to be beginner friendly, but for me it really is. Let me explain. Viral is one of my favorite synthesizers of all time. I use it even more than some paid synthesizers on my productions because it can produce advanced and complex sounds. But it's also beginner friendly. The only piece of advice I can give you if you are a beginner, just for now forget about wavetable, spectral morphing, wave morphing, and just concentrate on the basic shapes. Thing is, Viral has up to 3 oscillators, each one with individual pitches, and even a noise generator. Besides that, we have analog model filters with their own drive, And the feature that I think is the best for beginners, this synth is really visual. It shows you the shapes that you're using, it also shows you the shape of the filter, and the same goes for the modulation system, for the envelopes and the LFOs. Controlling every point is really intuitive, and the thing I like the most is the drag and drop function. Then if you go to effects, you can start experimenting, you don't have to immediately understand everything, but it's also pretty visual and intuitive. What's even better, this is a really popular synth. Many amazing sound designers use it. You will find a lot of tutorials that use this synth, so without wasting money you can follow along and get the sound you want. The synth number 4 comes from my effort to find the most simple free synthesizer out there. This is Charlatan. It looks little because it hasn't been updated since 2015, but as you can see, it's the most straightforward software synthesizer that you can find. We have 2 oscillators, each one with their own volume control. And the first one you can affect the shape as with pulse width, and you can modulate that with an envelope or the LFO. On the second one you can tune it differently or change the octave, and now we also can start experimenting with ring modulation and syncing. We can detune both oscillators and apply modulation to one, the other, or both at the same time. We also have a little bit of noise, a pretty simple and straightforward filter. We have a mode envelope, so with this knob we can modulate it. Besides that, we also can add up to 7 voices of unison, and if you want a bigger stereo sound, we have a width knob. And finally we have different options for the LFO, like changing the shape, increasing the amount with the mod wheel, phase, and we can sync it to the project. The envelopes are also pretty simple and it's velocity sensitive. And that's it. With this you will start familiarizing yourself with all the terms you need to learn to be able to program your own sounds, then you can start playing with other synthesizers. Besides that, it has an UI that will let you get familiar with an analog kind of workflow. I know there are other beginner-friendly synthesizers, but these ones are my favorites. I made this video to give you free amazing tools so you can start learning about synthesis. Then, when you are sure about what you want, you can start paying for other kind of synthesizers. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like, and in the description you will find the links for all the synths that I showed today. Let me know your opinions in the comments, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.